On this, the 100th episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about the album that started everything. Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath.
Containing the song
Black Sabbath. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this 100th episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
And we're two professional broadcasters. We like metal and we like to talk about it. And I'm happy that we could be here together.
Yeah.
Still in the same room.
It's because we breathe the same air all damn day anyway.
That is true. And we're still one of the very few states that have not issued some sort of stay-at-home order during the pandemic that's going on. But
I have a mask in my... I could put on the mask if
I also have a mask that my aunt made me, but I think right now, I think we're okay.
All right.
Neither of us are coughing on each other, so I think we'll be okay. We will be sharing a beverage, though. I have a bottle of champagne here, a $25 bottle of champagne. If you would be so kind as to begin the process of opening it.
All right,
and make sure
I'll peel.
Make sure the cork is not pointed at my face.
Is it a twist off?
There's a metal wire mesh. And remember it. Woo! Hey, and some fine mist coming off of that.
Ooh, that smells nice. Here,
all right,
I'll
here,
hit you up first.
pour for me.
Ooh, yeah. Tell me when.
That's probably good.
Probably good. Okay, when?
Well, you see this here, OJ. This is the top of the glass. It needs to go there.
It needs to go to the top of the glass. Wow. I mean, this is a real occasion, a milestone. 100 episodes.
100 episodes. If there had not been any huge gaps in programming, that'd be just under 2 years. But
there were some gaps.
There were some gaps. Between, I guess, what we could call season 1 and this much longer season 2 that we've been going through here. But
September is when I started this with you here.
Yep. So your second year will be this coming September.
Indeed, that'll be.
So this is episode 80 for you. And yeah, I'm real glad to be doing this. I like hanging out with you every weekend.
Yeah, I look forward to it every week.
Talking about the music that we love. So cheers. That's not bad.
That's very good. Yeah.
That's pretty good for $25 anyway. No, although I'm definitely not a champagne connoisseur.
Good thing we just got paid.
Yeah, so I could afford this $25 bottle of champagne. This is what I'm spending my stimulus check on. This one bottle of champagne.
Oh, I thought you were just going to say champagne in general.
That's just champagne in general. Yes.
$1,000 for the champagne.
$1,200 worth of champagne.
$25 at a time.
Yes. Got a lot of drinking to do. You didn't really look in my living room when you walked in. It's just crates.
All right.
Just crates filling up the space.
Well, I need to call my wife.
She can help.
Yeah.
She can help us drink it.
Or just, I'm not coming home for a bit. That's what I just gotta tell her. Yeah.
For weeks, maybe. While we drink all this champagne. Did you get your stimulus check?
Yeah, we got it. We had set up a direct deposit a couple of years ago through our local credit union.
All right.
That we have our state loan for our house through. So
okay. Yeah, mine's just I guess mine was technically, I mean, it was just my taxes thing is that,
right.
You know, I had my tax return last year direct deposit into my bank account and I still have the same one. It's still the same bank. So it went right in there. So yeah, I haven't completely decided what I'm going to do with it. Probably just throw it into savings and because I can't pay my student loans right now. Well, I guess I could probably make a voluntary payment, right?
It's sort of deferred. But yeah, I mean, and what you would pay off right now would be all principal, I would think.
It is. Yeah, there's no interest is not accruing. And they have what's the right term for it?
Furloughed? No, they've deferred.
Deferred, yeah. They've deferred payments until November.
Wow.
or at least through October. So the first payment will be in November.
Right.
So that's kind of crazy. And then the state did a thing with student loans too, but I paid off all my state loans after I graduated. So that was fun.
You didn't know there was going to be a pandemic.
Yeah, I didn't know at the time. I mean, I still would have had to pay them anyway. So it's not really much of a difference in the long run. I think that I paid them off or I didn't. So
right.
But what have you been doing in the last week as we go through this? What has been distracting you from what's been going on?
I've been rewatching Community. I think I said that last week. I haven't.
You may have mentioned that.
And also I'm playing through 2016 Doom
2016.
That was our album last week.
Yes,
I haven't been able
that
to
episode. That was a complete mess. Oh my God.
Was it hard to listen to?
It was hard to edit. Yeah,
it's hard to edit.
And the thing is normally I don't have to edit very much, but I committed. It's like, okay, I'm going to sit down and edit out some of these ums and ahs because boy, there's a lot.
It's a 15-minute episode.
Yeah. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be in retrospect, but man,
I feel like I haven't talked to you a whole lot over the last week or so because I've been on the air while you're not on the air, and then you go on the air while I'm not on the air.
Normally in the morning there's about like a 3-hour stretch where both of us are not really doing anything, just sitting at our desks next to each other and chit-chatting about this and that. But yeah, we've kind of been separated we've been separated but in the same building most of the time.
Mostly.
But you've been playing more of that Doom 2016.
I have, and I'm noticing the weather's getting kind of nice.
It's getting nicer and nicer.
I'm gonna have to make sure my battery's trickle charged up, and I'm gonna have to pull the two-wheeler out.
Oh, the hog!
Yeah,
get the hog ready to go.
Indeed,
you do some riding. There you go.
Yeah, especially considering, I finally did this. I've been suspicious that my car gets shittier gas mileage than I thought it did. And so what it did
was
it
a Volkswagen?
It is not. It's not a Volkswagen diesel. No.
Okay. I think their diesels were all right.
The diesels that were fine? Was the gas engines?
The gas engines were the ones they misreported.
Sure. No, yeah. I realize I'm getting about a quarter of the gas mileage my car thinks it does. Because you know how you have the thing that says miles until empty?
Yeah.
That's bullshit. I found that out.
I don't know what would be causing that to be off. Either something's wrong with the car and it's using much more gas than it needs to, or something's wrong with the computer that measures that.
Or something wrong with the guy who drives the car.
Or that. It could be that.
I mean, I inherited the gene from my grandfather. My grandfather is special. All of his life, he drove 55 miles an hour. If he was on the interstate where it was 75, he was driving 55 miles an hour.
And if he was in town,
if he was in a school zone, he was driving 55 miles an hour. That's how he was. I guess I'm kind of like that. But
he knew what he was about.
He knew what it was about, son.
He's a man who knew what he was about. The only time he slows down is when he's stopping.
Sure, yeah. It's stop or 55. That was what it was. You're going too slow, Grandpa. God damn it, you're going too fast, Grandpa.
Well, the thing is he watched Speed and was like, that's never going to happen to me.
Nope. Yeah.
This car ain't going to explode. Got to go at least 55.
He never saw the movie Speed.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
How do you know?
I think the last movie the man watched was Bridge over the River Kwai.
That's a good last movie to watch.
Sure, but it was the most recent movie he watched.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So you told me that you just got to hell in Doom 2016.
I did.
You just got there.
Just got to hell. I did the whole platforming thing all the way through that thing. We got to climb up the whole tower.
The tower, yep.
Yeah.
Climb across that bridge and nice. I really like that level leading up to hell.
Oh yeah.
Just keep on going up and up and up and up and up. I love that.
And then you get to the top and suddenly it's cool for them to just throw 4 Mancubus at you and
yeah. What's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong. Of course, my strategy, as everybody's strategy probably in Doom is okay, fire and run like hell.
Just run. I think at this point, you've basically encountered every enemy except, well, I guess the Cacodemons about to show up.
Right, yep.
And then...
I'm sure of that.
After that, I think... Have you run into Pinkies yet?
No.
Where they bull charge you.
Oh,
and
I know what
you
a
have to
Pinky
shoot him
is.
in the back. Okay.
They've been in every iteration of Doom.
Yes. And they're, especially in 2016 and in Doom Eternal, they are a fucking pain in the ass. Like in the original 1993 Doom, they just, I mean, they're just kind of a fat sort of blob that slowly kind of walks its way towards you, and it's just sort of a bullet sponge. In Doom 2016, they're like invulnerable from the front, except to like a massive amount of damage. God, I hate those fuckers. There's so many I've had so many like really perfect runs in Doom Eternal that have been completely ruined by a pinky showing up.
Sure.
And I despise them for that. But they're just complete bastards. And I guess you haven't, no Barons of Hell yet.
No Barons of Hell.
Other than that, it's just bosses. So yeah, you're cruising your way through that game.
I am. And I've had to my son was sitting there, he had headphones on, he's watching YouTube videos, and he pulled his headphones back at one point yesterday afternoon. He said, "Dad, can you turn down the screaming demons from hell?" Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yes, I suppose I can. Dad, can you turn down your heavy metal video game?
Wow. How the tables have turned.
How the tables. Exactly.
Yeah. Dad, your heavy metal's too loud.
I mean, that's what I want to be, right?
Sure.
If I ever have kids, I want it to be, Dad, stop blasting death metal, you weird old fogey. Nobody listens to that anymore. It's all about hyper space metal or whatever it's going to be in the future.
Or yelling down to your kid in the basement, "Why aren't you using the enchanted weapons?"
I made those for you. Do you know how long I spent grinding? You need to learn how to use enchantment tools on your own, kid.
Disappointment.
I did not enchant that Dragonbone greatsword for you to not use it. Oh boy, that's where I want to be. That's maybe the life I want. I don't know.
Maybe someday you settle down with the right woman. Yeah. Okay.
I appreciate. You know, I like to think I'm a bit of a
open-minded or whatever.
I was going to say and I'm a bit enigmatic.
Enigmatic. You are an enigma wrapped in a
conundrum
and a terry cloth or whatever. I don't know, but
and some terry cloth. Yeah, that's what I'm wearing right now, everyone.
His
just
robes.
A terry cloth robe.
It's the 100th episode.
Yeah,
it's special.
Had to relax.
Sure.
I feel like we should have like smoking jackets and cigars.
Oh, that'd be great. But I mean, it's probably frowned on in the building.
I mean, plenty of people smoke weed in here, so
sure.
I feel like no one would care about cigars.
I feel like if they completely legalized recreational marijuana, they could put up signs. But that would suck for the people who like to sit around in their apartment and smoke weed. now that it can be regulated.
Yeah.
Oh shit! How am I gonna go in the parking lot and get high?
There's no one who's like kind of bashful. Like, I mean, they're smoking weed, but I don't want to get them like in trouble with the law.
Sure.
I just want to get them in trouble with the property company. And if it's completely legalized, then you can just say that and not worry about anybody going to jail,
right? For
something as stupid as a weed charge. So, yeah, that'll be an interesting time. We'll see if it comes to pass here. Did I do anything?
Did you do anything?
I don't know. What did I watched an Amazon series called James May, Our Man in Japan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So if you don't know who James May is, he was one of the 3 hosts of Top Gear for a very long time on the BBC. Before all 3 of them, after one of their co-hosts got fired because of a physical incident at work.
Of course.
After Jeremy Clarkson got fired for punching one of their producers.
Yeah. That's a falling out right there.
Yeah. The BBC immediately shit canned him. And then the other 2 were like, I mean, we're not staying. We're doing one more episode and then we're gone.
Sure.
And that last episode of Top Gear with those 2 was like, it was sobering because there was no audience.
Sure.
It was just James and Richard. And
no Jeremy.
No Jeremy. Jeremy was in the pre-recorded films that they had. But like in the studio, when they went back into the studio, no Jeremy. And it was like, you could see that both them and the executive producer were like, yeah, we're basically just doing this to say fuck you to the BBC because we're gone. And then Amazon hired them to make the Grand Tour, which they've been doing for the last 3-4 years at this point. And I'm patiently waiting for their next special that they're putting out. No idea when that's happening, but so James May is known as Captain Slow, and he has been to Japan many times before, but he decided to do a deep dive and stay there for several months and travel from the northern tip of Japan to the southern tip of the main islands and just explore in a deeper level all the things that make Japan Japan. And it's kind of hilarious because you have this like late 50s, very stuffy British man trying to understand modern Japan.
Sure.
it's hilarious. I mean, I already love James May, and that series it's hilarious. So I can highly recommend it. If you've got Amazon Prime, watch James May, Our Man in Japan, because it's very funny. Other than that, I've just been grinding on Doom Eternal, just replaying stuff on ultra violence.
I haven't done any of the rune challenges. I've done. I started to do one and realized this is just going to frustrate, make me angry.
A couple of them are not particularly hard. The ones that are the really good runes are pretty difficult. I meant my last run through in 2016, I managed to complete all of them, which is not something I did the first time.
Right.
But there are a couple of them that are very frustrating. But there are a couple of runes that I think are worth it to get, but you're already past, a couple of them. But some of the ones early on in the game are not super good.
I got to the door and I'm like, there was one I went in and it was like, kill 13 demons in 6 seconds. What?
Well, the thing is, every time you kill a demon,
you get new
challenges like that,
the timer goes back.
It gives you a couple of seconds on the timer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, most of the challenges like that, when you kill a demon or glory kill them or whatever you do, it gives you a little bit of time back.
Well, shoot, I didn't notice that, and then I just ran out of time. And
it's not the end of the world. You'll still have fun. It's Doom 2016.
It's fun as hell.
None of this crazy challenge stuff that you have in Doom Eternal. I think like the key to someone who just wants to just have fun in Doom Eternal is put it on I'm Too Young to Die. And don't give a shit about, anybody who says otherwise, because it is perfectly fine, I think, to play Doom Eternal in the easiest difficulty. And if you're like, I would like a bit more of a challenge, you can always turn it up. You can turn it up mid-mission.
Anytime you want.
Up
or down.
So it's, I think it's perfectly valid to play it that way. I've just been slowly working my way towards maybe trying it on Nightmare and seeing how that goes. I don't know how it will. And what I'm doing is playing mission select too. So I have like weapons with the mods and whatnot.
Right.
But as I've been replaying the missions in Ultraviolence, I've been trying to only use weapons that I would have had in that mission and only use mods that I would have picked up at that point. So it's like the mods are upgraded all the way. So it's still a little like new game plusy, but it's still, especially by the last like 3 missions, it's still the same as it would have been if I had built all the way up to that.
See, I
it's
feel
still
like
the same level of difficulty.
I'm going to want to go and replay the first mission with the BFG.
In Doom Eternal, you can't do that in 2016.
You can't do that in 2016?
There's no mission select in 2016, unfortunately. That's something that I really wanted in 2016. The first and second time I played it was like, man, I would really love for there to be a mission select so I don't have to worry about doing any of the challenges or picking up weapon mod points or doing anything like that. I wish there was just a way for me to go back with all of my good shit. And there isn't in Doom 2016, but there is in Doom Eternal. So they listened to someone else who had complaints like I did. So.
And one other thing, over this last weekend, we discovered, as my wife and I were throwing quotes back and forth from a movie, that our youngest child had never seen that movie.
Which was?
The Princess Bride.
Uh-oh.
Never seen The Princess Bride.
Well, you got to fix that.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Immediately you did.
Oh, immediately, yeah. So we're going to watch this. We have this on DVD. Why have we never shown you this?
What did he think?
He thought it was hilarious.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
And he walked around for the rest of the day saying, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya.
Of course he did.
You killed my father.
Prepare to die." It's such a good, that movie's so insanely quotable.
Yeah, it is.
So this week we listened to what is considered by some people to be the very first heavy metal album ever by Black Sabbath. It's their self-titled debut album, Black Sabbath. The opening song is called Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And I've never really Black Sabbath is something that, of course, I've been very culturally aware of. And, I know the famous songs. I know War Pigs. I know Paranoid, Iron Man.
Yeah. Which are all the next album, which came out in the same year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where I think, especially on Paranoid, I think they really kind of figured out this is what we do. This is our sound.
Right.
And this is very much a prototype for what would come later, I think. But it's not, Black Sabbath is not something that I've taken the time to go back to and listen to an album. As shameful as that is for me as a metalhead, it's a band that I haven't. It's like Iron Maiden when we talked about Iron Maiden.
Sure,
it's something I'm very culturally aware of, and I know that it is very important for the music that I like today. But I hadn't taken the time to go back and listen to it. And like Iron Maiden, I had a really good time.
Excellent.
I had an excellent time with this. And it's so clear to me listening to so many of these tracks, not just Black Sabbath, which is the most metal song on the album. I think the first song is definitely the most metal song on the album. But there are so many riffs that I hear where I'm like, oh, wow, it sounds like the prototype for something you hear, especially throwback type bands like Mastodon, for example. I'm listening to the guitar tone and everything, and I was like, oh, that's it sounds like Mastodon. Yep. Or it sounds, like Sleep or any of these other bands that are obsessed with super old equipment.
Sounds like Wolfmother.
It's yeah. I that was maybe the most interesting part of the experience for me, was going oh, wow, this, I can suddenly see the through line of oh, that turned into this and turned into this and turned into this. And even stuff that is as different from this as death metal is. Yeah. Like listening to the opening riff of Black Sabbath, I'm thinking, okay, this almost kind of sounds like the opening riff of Scream Bloody Gore. Sure.
Well, it's the Devil's Tritone.
Yeah. And the tone of that song in particular, I think more than anything else is what defined heavy metal as a genre, is just, oh, this is foreboding. It's kind of scary. It's not necessarily grating and difficult to listen to, although maybe it was at the time. Critics certainly seemed to think so at the time. But it's not, it doesn't hurt your ears to listen to it, but it's like, ooh, this is kind of spooky. And nobody outside of, maybe some classical composers or, film score composers were making music like that. Right. If you were making a score for a horror movie, of course you would make spooky music, but
there was some psychedelic rock of that era that sounded a little bit like that,
I suppose. And it had to come from somewhere.
Right.
Of course.
There was blues rock. I mean, they definitely, it was definitely a milestone and they set the bar right there. But I mean, they didn't it
didn't come out of nowhere.
They didn't pull it out of outer space. Yeah.
And certainly this album is probably 60-70% blues rock. Sure. It's just the other 20-30% or 30-40% was stuff that people hadn't really heard before. And it's weird to think it's 1970. This is a year after Woodstock. Right. And a lot of the songs are something that I feel like you might have heard on the stage at Woodstock. And it's weird to me to bridge that gap in my brain of oh, but this is Black Sabbath, a band that is, still been around up until very recently. I think 2017.
They put out an album, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was they officially said no more Black Sabbath, didn't they?
Maybe, because they've done that before. Just like Ozzy's done that before.
Yeah. But my goodness, it's so interesting to see the through line of this. And let's talk about Ozzy Osbourne for a second.
All right.
And talk about Ozzy Osbourne's voice in particular, because sometimes it's weird to like hear somebody's singing voice so clearly when you're not necessarily used to hearing it that clearly, you know, like I was discussing with you earlier today, Brian Johnson. If you hear Brian Johnson's vocals from an ACD song in isolation.
An ACD song?
Yep.
An ACD song.
It's my new abbreviation.
Yeah.
But if you hear Brian Johnson's vocals in isolation, it sounds so bizarre because it's like he's really, you know, yelling and belting, but there's also like this kind of Yoda, like this, like back of the throat, like he's got a bubble in his throat, and Ozzy kind of has the same thing. He sings like he's got this permanent bubble in the back of his throat that he can't dislodge.
And this is before he really developed his sound. He was 22 at this time.
Yeah. Which is crazy to me that Ozzy was ever young, because he's always been old to me. And yeah, it's just his singing voice on this is not particularly developed. And a lot of it is not as developed as it would be later on in the same year.
Right.
And like Tony Iommi's guitar playing, I think is, you know, that little, I guess his little hammer-on flourishes, you might want to call them. That's strikes me as a very blues rock sort of thing, but he does that because he's missing parts of two of his fingers, right?
Well, I guess maybe that factors into it. And he's not really missing the parts he replaced those parts of the fingers.
Yeah, he's got
prosthetics.
They're like metal prosthetics, aren't they?
Metal, wood,
something like
sort
that
of stuff. Yeah.
See, that would be neat, because then he doesn't have to do what's the, like, you can put like a metal tube on your finger.
Talking about slide?
Yeah.
Slide guitar.
He could play slide guitar just with his regular fingers. And not have to put anything on his fingers. It's just the tips of his fingers, because they're made of metal. But yeah, Tony Iommi, you know, very iconic style of playing guitar that would, I think, define, you know, heavy metal in a more general sense and doom metal in a very specific sense. You know, the first song, like, if you say Black Sabbath is the first heavy metal album and created heavy metal as the genre, Black Sabbath, the song in particular, is the song that created doom metal. Just that one song.
Sure. That's
doom metal, which I think is interesting to me.
Yeah. Would your Mike, what's last name?
Oh no, I can't remember it now either. Oh no.
Mike,
from Sleep.
Yeah. What the hell's wrong with me? Mike, anyway, you know,
Mike Myers.
Michael Myers from the Halloween movies. You know, he's hearing this for the first time as a small child, because he's like my age, isn't he? He's like maybe a little older than me.
I think he's about Matt Pike.
Not Mike.
Yeah, you combined M and Ike.
Yeah, so Matt Pike.
Matt Pike is 47. He's a little bit older than you.
Yeah, he's
a year older than you. He looks about 10 years older than
you. He does. He's lived it.
He certainly has. He's finally getting a little bit healthier these days. But yeah, if you're Matt Pike, like, the first thing you say in any interview about like your guitar gear is like, yeah, this is a thing that I got because Tony Iommi had it.
Yeah, sure.
And he's been such a massive influence on guitarists, you know, as you continue down the line.
The last 50 years.
This album turned 50 last month sometime, I think. And yeah, it was Metal's 50th birthday. So that's another special milestone for this episode as well, I guess, although we're a month late on that. But hey, congratulations, Metal, for making it. So does this album slap?
Yes.
It does?
I think this slaps. I think it slaps in the way that it's supposed to.
It slaps in a bluesy sort of way.
Yeah.
I think it certainly doesn't slap the way that like a Dillinger Escape Plan album slaps, but
but you listen to it, you go, that slaps.
Like, imagine being 19 years old in the year 1970.
Sure.
And you've got, you're like a big Jimi Hendrix fan or something, and you're walking by the record store and you see Black Sabbath and you pick this up. Imagine how fucking mind-blowing the opening of this album would be to that person.
I wonder how many of these albums caught fire.
I don't know.
Moms and dads finding it in their kids' collection.
Well, and the thing is, if you're not paying attention to like some of the lyrics that vaguely mention there's like two or three mentions of Satan. I think there's one where they say Lucifer, and it's
smiling. Yeah,
it's usually in a negative context of like, oh God, it's Satan. He's fucking with me. He's gonna kill me. Like it's never like we worship Satan. We all hail him. It's in a negative context.
Well, there is a song in this called "Nativity in Black." It's
true. But like it's macabre in the same way that like a H.P. Lovecraft book is. But you didn't see parents burning copies of H.P. Lovecraft books. Maybe they did. I don't know. But like to me, Black Sabbath is a lot metal in general. It's like D&D. It's like, okay, this is not Satanism,
right? Just
because something contains a reference to something vaguely satanic or occultish does not make it in itself satanic or occultish.
Right. And just because D&D made you start to worship Satan.
No, D&D made me start to worship Odin. That's not true.
No.
Going to North Coast Fest is what made me start worshiping Odin. Canceled this year.
I know, that
North
sucks.
Coast Fest.
No West Fest. I had tickets to a show and I'm going to go.
Where are people going to get their, what's the...
Lutefisk? Are you talking about...
no, the...
Krumkaka?
No.
You're talking about Rumagrot? You talking about Viking on a Stick? You talking about...
That one.
That one? Okay.
I was waiting to see how many foods you were going to go through.
Because I eat all that shit.
I know you do. I'm not much for Scandinavian food, to my shame. Because like, do you like lutefisk?
No, not really. I'll eat it to remind myself every few years. Oh, this is terrible. Yeah.
Just to see if suddenly your taste buds have dulled to such a point that this is now good.
I mean, not that it has much of a flavor at all. I mean, that's why you have to douse it in butter. It's a texture really thing. It's all it is a texture. Yeah. There's not a flavor. There's no color.
But once you have knowledge,
just a texture.
Once you have knowledge of how it's made, that makes it a little bit harder to eat, I think.
Sure.
Anyway, we'll get off our extremely Nodak soapbox for a second. But I
want a klub right now.
Of course you want a klub.
A klub would be awesome.
I want some oh no. Is that German?
What?
No. It's a little piece of flat bread.
Lefse?
Lefse.
Yeah.
Jesus. That's Scandinavian, right? Yeah. Okay.
You put some butter and cinnamon sugar on it.
Yeah, it's just a little flatbread pastry.
That's every Scandinavian dessert. What is it? I don't know. Let's put some butter and cinnamon sugar on it.
Why not?
Every single.
Those were the only things
dessert
they had to flavor anything.
Yeah.
I guess there were probably some herbs that grow up there too. But
sure, but they're not as good as butter and cinnamon and sugar.
True. Nothing's as good as butter, cinnamon, and sugar.
Sure.
Nothing is.
I made some toast. What do you want on it?
Well, butter, cinnamon, sugar.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot where we were at. Hi, Kitty.
We were talking about Odin, talking about Hustfest, and not having Hustfest this year. They're
well, before that, we were talking about Black Sabbath, I suppose.
Black Sabbath.
So,
who are they?
Who are they? I don't know. So I didn't really bother looking at the score.
Sure.
The current scores for it are, of course, very positive.
Yeah.
I do know at the time. No.
Kitty.
Cat jumped up on the table.
Do you want to look out the window? Is that what you want to do?
Are you going to force me?
Or are you just here to knock stuff over?
No, she wants to look out the window. I think she's going to force me to put her outside and close the door. Yeah. Big fluffy cattail with dander and whatnot.
In the champagne.
in the champagne. Thanks a lot, Cat. But anyway, I'm going to put her outside because she's distracting me.
All right.
Come on, Zima. Come here.
All right. Well, that was actually pretty easy.
Yeah, she went on her own.
She knows the drill. All right.
So anyway, now that the door is closed,
All right.
that fucking cat.
She can't hear us, right?
Yeah, no, she can't hear us.
I'm gonna kill her later.
Jesus,
no, we're not.
No, I hope not.
That's not gonna happen.
So yeah, anyway, Black Sabbath. What are they all about? Making music.
Sure.
Oh, so yeah, I was talking about, now, of course, it is regarded as a classic, as an extremely important album, especially for the history of metal and just the evolution of rock in general. At the time, it was not considered so. People fucking hated, or critics fucking hated this album. People liked this album. Critics despised it. And I can't remember which band member talked about it a little bit later on, about how part of the reason maybe critics were so negative about it was no one had ever really heard of them before. And all of a sudden their album is in the charts right off the bat. Be like, who the fuck do these people think they are? Fuck them. And he's like, and they've been saying, they've felt that way about us ever since. And that was, I think, quote from him in the 80s, I think. But I don't remember which band member that was that said that. But
probably Geezer.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, critics despised this album at first, which is weird to me because, like, there's a lot of stuff on here that's pretty good.
Yeah, very good. I mean, there was a lot of talented musicianship on here.
Very talented. And I just think I don't know why it got such a bad reputation.
And it's funny. I was listening to there's a guy made a video today, a very angry video, so I couldn't watch the whole thing because I don't need anger right now.
Yeah.
He was talking,
nobody needs anger.
Nobody. He was talking about how before the 1990s, there was the era of less than perfect. Because in the 90s, I mean, and I've kind of heard you do this a little bit, talking about something that sounds sloppy. Well, it sounds like it was really played by real people. Whereas
true. Stuff
that was edited in the 90s or after, I mean, why would you not go back and edit? I mean, you have it on a digital grid. You can just slide it over. Now it's perfect.
It doesn't cost you several $100s to do another take.
Right. No, you can do it right there. But back in 1970, it was like, man, and I listened to this, and this is pretty damn perfect for for being with a 4-track recorder.
And I think as I've gotten older, I've become more appreciative of stuff that is a bit older, and it clearly has a bit more humanity to it. Certainly, I've started listening to shit like grindcore as I've gotten older, and if you expect super clean takes in grindcore, what the fuck are you doing with your life? But yeah, I think I've slowly started to grow into like, oh, this isn't perfect, but it's fine. I still like it.
Right. It sounds like they're playing in the room together.
Exactly. And I appreciate that sound for what it is as well.
What's up? You all right? You hear a humming?
The heater is making noise and it's bothering the shit out of me.
Wow.
So I can hear it in my headphones because I've got those young ears, baby.
Sure, yeah. Oh, I used to have the young ears. I used to be susceptible to dog whistles.
Yeah, I think I'm waiting for the day where Quinn and I will be sitting around and all of a sudden we hear beep.
Yeah.
And we go, what the fuck is that noise? And everyone goes, what are you talking about?
Because now you get into your 40s, and I know my dad. I didn't know why he made this fucking face when I was a kid, but now I know why he made this face. It's the squinting into the distance. No, I'm just trying to hear what the hell you're saying.
I'm trying to listen to you, boy.
Yeah. I don't know.
Boy.
What? Boy.
If you weren't hearing headphones on, piping our voices back to us, you probably wouldn't be able to understand a word I'm saying.
This is the only way I've ever heard your voice.
Oh, really?
Your headphones.
All the time at work, you're just like pretending really well.
Lips.
Wow. Yeah. You're very good at that.
Thanks.
I'm very impressed.
It's an ability.
So something I wanted to talk about, because this is our 100th episode, and we're talking about an album that is so integral to the evolution of metal, is what does metal mean to you in your life?
What does metal mean to me? It means something. It's like being a part of a private club. It's like something. It's extremely energetic. It's very dramatic. It's and it's something that like my parents and the other assholes around me don't understand. And it really became sort of different for me when I got into like my freshman year, 8th grade freshman year, when there was like other dudes who were like, hey, listen to this, man. It was almost like we were trading drugs.
Yeah,
yeah.
Hey,
give this a listen. Hey, You got to do the good stuff. You got to do that Slayer. You got to do that.
You got the new Slayer album? Did you hear that? What about the new Metallica one?
Yeah. Back in the 80s.
And like, I never had that in high school because there was no one else. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a couple other people that also liked this sort of music. And a lot of the stuff I listened to in high school wasn't really all that metal.
Sure.
Generally speaking, like, what got me into harder music was stuff like, Rise Against and A Day to Remember and stuff like that, where they're quite a bit more punk, I think, than metal. But it got me used to that harder edge. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I had been listening to like Avenged Sevenfold and stuff like that for a little while at the same time as well. But like getting into stuff that was a bit more exclusive and intimidating for other people.
Love that.
Yeah. It made me feel, like, oh, hey, this is my thing. This is a thing that I know about that other people don't. It became. And if you grow up in a place that doesn't have a scene where there aren't other people who are into that same thing, I think that's the experience you have. Because like, I grew up in a town of 1,200 people. Of course, there's not a metal scene there. And so I got this feeling of like, this is mine.
Right.
And
I didn't have the luxury of growing up in one place. I went to a different school every year.
Yeah. So you were all over the place.
So yeah, oh my God, I don't know anybody here. That dude's got a Megadeth shirt on.
Yeah.
Hey, dude.
You can just be like, hey, you like Megadeth? Oh my God. And suddenly you've got an acquaintance at the very least.
Yeah. It's great.
And that has to be a pretty good feeling. I didn't have that in college either. Mm-hmm. Like there was
at Minot State University.
Yeah, Minot State.
Really?
There weren't a lot of people walking around wearing Goat Whore t-shirts. You know? I was not listening to Goat Whore at the time, but like when I was a sophomore though, I did have that first experience where I was walking around I was wearing a Converge tank top with the cover of Jane Doe on it, basically just the face essentially. Sure. And I hear from behind me in the hallway, Jane Doe by Converge. And I look around and there's this dude who I'd seen walking around who I'd later, become decent friends with,
right?
Who used to be in like a deathcore band and that sort of thing. And it was like, oh my God, there were people. And that's sort of when I started to realize like, oh, Minot kind of has a place for this that I didn't have when I was growing up. So like for a lot of people, metal means a community. Mm-hmm. And I've never quite had that. For me, it's still always been this kind of sort of exclusive thing. Obviously, you and I share it. But like, trying to talk about metal to somebody who doesn't get it is so difficult. And I wish I could articulate it to people, but I can't. There's a je ne sais quoi about it as I pour myself a little bit more champagne.
Yes, I know you got it right.
But there's just something about it that I can't articulate all that well about why I like it. I just know that I do. And it's also meant an emotional release to me.
Oh, yeah.
Listening to metal and like really just going at it and letting yourself just do whatever, mosh like no one's watching. That feels amazing. And when I used to do vocals, that was the same sort of thing is, really, really letting your vocal cords have it is probably not physically healthy if you don't know what you're doing. Like I didn't. But it is certainly, it feels very good emotionally.
Yeah. Very cathartic.
It lets out a lot of shitty pent up emotions. And I think part of why, like, especially in the last couple of years, I've started to gravitate more and more towards metal that is, got some sort of emotional tinge to it, like Panopticon or stuff like that.
Sure.
Is because I can't sing anymore. I can't connect with that part of the music anymore. Right. And so I'm looking for something that taps into that same part of my brain without me having to directly interact with it that way.
And it's one of those things, I think you and I both suffer from a little bit of anxiety. It really helps with anxiety.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me. And I think that's maybe anybody who's listening to any music they like.
Yeah.
You're going to feel the same thing. For us, it's metal. For anybody else, it might be country. It might be classical. It might be whatever helps get you through the day. Like I've always thought those studies where it's like, turns out, studies show that metal music makes people feel more positive. And then you read the study and it's like, we asked all these metal fans to rate how they felt while they were listening to metal. It's like, oh, really? They felt better while they were listening to music they like? Ooh, how?
Man, that's a stretch.
How could they possibly do that?
That reminds me, speaking of listening to music to let off steam, my youngest got Injustice 2 for PlayStation 4. And all the DC villains are on there.
Yes.
And among some of the heroes and whatnot. And we're playing the game all day playing Injustice 2. Mm-hmm. And then for some reason, while I was doing dishes and cleaning up the kitchen later on that night, I really wanted to listen to Cyndi Lauper.
That's one of those like weird sense memory things.
Right, but I made the connection though.
What's the connection?
The connection is Cyndi Lauper has kind of a little girl voice with a heavy Brooklyn accent.
Okay. Oh, Harley Quinn.
She sounds like Harley Quinn.
All right. Okay. I get it now. I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think talking about metal and anxiety, like for me, if I'm going to like the grocery store or something like that, any place where I don't want to have to listen to what's going over the intercom.
Sure.
I don't want to have to listen to the voices of 100 people around me.
It's terrifying.
If there's just like a crowd of people, I just throw in headphones with like one of my most like weirdly distinct memories is going grocery shopping while listening to Mayhem.
Sure.
when we did that first Mayhem album, I went grocery shopping listening to it and I was like, wow, this is a weird juxtaposition. But yeah, it certainly does help a lot with that.
It does a lot.
And it's just, it is almost like a comfort food for me. And there's plenty of other music that I like.
Sure.
And, I know why I like that stuff somewhere in my brain. And it's the same thing with metal. I know why I like metal somewhere in there. I just haven't figured out how to explain it to other people other than like the most succinct thing I have is it's very cathartic. That's the best thing I have.
It gets out those things you can't express. Like you're listening to a song about how they're slaughtering lots of people and there's lots of death and violence and gore and I would never do anything like that. Of course. But there's something in my brain that goes, how do I scream about this? Oh, I can? Oh, maybe they can.
They've figured it out. And there's a lot of negative like everybody has negative emotions. Sure. Everybody has like intrusive thoughts to some degree. Sure. Some people have more intrusive thoughts than others. And finding some way to express that, I think, is very, very important to a person's emotional health. Finding a healthy way to get that out of your system. For some people, it's painting. For some people, it's making the music. For some people, it's listening to the music. Yeah. And it serves a very valuable role. And that's, I think, the most important thing that I try to think about when I'm confronted with somebody who doesn't get it and is, kind of almost violently opposed to it. Like, that's not music. Rah, rah, rah. And what I think is like, and what I would say to them is it's art. All art has a place somewhere. It might not be pretty. You might think it's dumb. There's plenty of modern art that I and many other people think is incredibly stupid, but it has a place and it has something to say. It all has a value. And that makes it valuable. And how valuable it is depends entirely upon who you are. So don't shit on somebody else for the art that they like. Indeed. Even if that art is Limp Bizkit. Or at least you can shit on it, but try to recognize that if you like it, that's okay. But metal means a lot to me. I'm really glad that I got brought down this path inadvertently. I think I mostly have my friend Mason to thank for that, because I was at a speech meet and I was vaguely interested in Linkin Park at the time. And he was like, hey, I've got like a whole bunch of Linkin Park albums on my iPod and a whole bunch of other stuff. If you want to listen to that while I go do this other thing and you're waiting here, you could listen to my iPod. And I was like, okay, sure. And I was like, wow, this is really good. And I immediately, delved into more Linkin Park while I was at home and asked for like hand-me-down iPods and stuff. And it just...
From your sister.
Yeah. And it just snowballed from there. And now I've got, a vinyl collection with like 45 albums or something like that. And that's how this sort of thing happens. But I'm glad it did because it's special to me. I'm sure I would have found something else that was special, but it wouldn't, that person who values those things is not the person I am right now. So thank you, Mason, I guess. I'm very excited to attend your wedding. That's now in August.
Sure.
That was supposed to be in later on this month. So,
right. Because of the virus.
Because of the big Rona. But I think that's about it for us. Black Sabbath, very important. Metal in general,
gold.
Very important to us. Yeah, this is a gold one.
This is a gold one.
This is a gold. To give it anything else would be disrespectful.
Yeah,
I think. But I think that's about it for us for that. So if you like this sort of thing, we are going to be back with 101. What?
What are we doing for 101?
Oh God, it's my week next week. I hadn't even fucking thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get back to you on that.
Get back to me on that. All right.
Yeah, I had something in my brain a while ago, I think. And
I've got like 6 different things.
I've got. I can't remember what it was right now, so I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
For the listeners, it'll be a surprise because they'll probably not bother to make a Facebook post. Speaking of Facebook posts, you can like our Facebook page to not get updates, but you will get new episodes when they come out if you like to listen to them on your web browser. Mm-hmm. If you don't like to listen to them on your web browser, also Twitter is a thing for us as well. Just search for Bronze Metalist and you'll find it. But if your web browser is not where you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us on Libsyn, which has an app on your phone if you've got an Android, or on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever they call it these days.
Sure.
Which also is an app on your phone if you've got an iOS device. So go ahead and do that. Until we get to whatever it is we're talking about next week, thank you very much for listening to
Indeed.
Episode 100 of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations to us.
Woo-hoo!